Welcome to this Excel 2016 lesson on logical functions. Most of the arguments used by logical functions are Boolean values. There are only two Boolean values, true and false. They evaluate to 1 and 0, respectively. The AND function takes Boolean arguments and returns a Boolean result. If any of the AND function's arguments return false, then AND returns false. If all of the arguments return true, then AND returns true. Here's an example. I've got two columns of numbers. I'm going to use the AND function to test whether both of the numbers are more than 2. So in cell C2, I'll type equals and press tab. First argument, I'll click A2, then type greater than 2, comma. Click B2, then type greater than 2. Press Ctrl Enter, then double-click the fill handle to fill the column. So in the first row, A2 is 1, which will return a false for the first argument. If any argument is false, AND returns a false. In row 2, both numbers are more than 2, so both arguments are true, and returns true. In row 3, both numbers are less than 2, so AND returns false. The OR function also takes Boolean arguments and returns a Boolean result. If any of the OR function's arguments return true, then OR returns true. Only if all of the arguments return false will it return false. To demonstrate, in D2 I'll type equals or press tab. Now click A2, then type greater than 2, comma. Click B2, type greater than 2. Press Ctrl Enter, then double-click the fill handle. In the first row, B2 is 3. This will return a true result for the second argument. If any argument returns true in the OR function, the function will return true. So D2 is true. In the second row, both numbers are more than 2, so OR returns true. In the third row, both numbers are less than 2, so all of the arguments for the OR function are false, and OR returns a false. Now for the if function. The if function has 3 arguments. The first argument returns a Boolean value. If the value is true, then the second argument is executed. If the value is false, the third argument is executed. The if function is often used with the other logical functions. To demonstrate how it works, I've got some numbers here in column A, and I'm going to have the if function display a message whether the numbers are greater than 2. So in cell B1, I type equals if, then press tab. First argument is a logical test, which will return a Boolean value. Click in cell A1, then type greater than 2, comma. Next argument, value if true. If argument 1 gets a true or a number greater than 0, it will do whatever I type here. I'll type quote, greater than 2. End quote. Comma. Value if false. This is what happens if the value in argument 1 is false or 0. Here I'll type quote 2 or less. Unquote. Press Ctrl Enter, then double-click the fill handle. So that's how if works. Now for a more practical demonstration of how they all work together. I have here an inventory of parts. I need to make sure there's always at least 20 Type A parts on hand. If not, I need to reorder more. I'll use the AND with the IF function for this. Click in D2 and type equals if, press Tab, then for the first argument of if, I need to put the AND function. So type AND, press Tab. I need to find out if the type is A and the quantity is less than 20. Click cell C2, type equals, quote, A, end quote, comma. Click cell B2 and type less than 20. Close the parentheses, then type a comma. Now, what to do if it's less than 20? Type quote, reorder, end quote. Comma. What to do if the supply is sufficient? Type quote, OK, end quote. Close the parentheses, press Ctrl Enter. Double-click the fill handle. So when there's a part type A and the quantity is below 20, it gives us a message to reorder. Here's another situation where you might use the OR function with the IF function. Suppose I needed to find out if the quantities of parts B or C were less than 25. I would start out like the previous example. In E2, type equals, if, then press Tab. Now, the AND function. Type AND, then Tab. Inside the AND function, I'll need to put the OR function to look for part type B or C. So type OR, then press Tab. Now click cell C2. Type equals, quote, B, end quote, comma. Then click cell C2 again and type equals, quote, C, end quote. Close parentheses. So far I've got if type is B or C. Type a comma to get to the next parameter of the AND function. Click cell B2, then type less than 25, close parentheses. Now I've got if cell B or C and quantity less than 25. Type a comma. What to do when it's under 25? Type quote, reorder, end quote, comma. Otherwise, display OK. So type quote, OK, end quote. Close parentheses. Press Ctrl Enter. Double-click the fill handle. As you see, when any quantity for type B or C is less than 25, reorder is displayed in column E. One final useful logical function to show you is the NOT function. This will always return the opposite of whatever Boolean value its argument returns. For example, I have the word false in cell A1. In B1, I'll type equals, not, press Tab, then click A1. Press Enter, and it returns true. It always returns the opposite Boolean value. I could have actually used the not function in the inventory example instead of the or function to find the status of B or C parts, since there was only 3 part types. In the AND function, I could have it find which parts were not A. It makes the formula a little bit shorter. Start out like before. Type equals if, press tab, type AND, press tab. Now for the first argument of the AND function, type not. Press tab again. Click cell C2. Then type equals, quote, A, end quote. Close parentheses. Type a comma. Then click cell B2 and type less than 25. End parentheses. Comma. Now we have if not type A and quantity less than 25 do this. I'll type, quote, reorder, end quote, comma. What to do otherwise? Type, quote, OK, end quote, end parentheses, Control Enter. Double-click the fill handle. And there you have it. If the type is not A and quantity less than 25, reorder. Otherwise, it's okay. Well, I hope that helps with understanding some of Excel's logical functions and how to put them into practice. Thanks for watching.